and he was about to lose his job 5 times. But the courage of conviction of the points which you have is what is important for innovation. What type of HR? Apple has always believed in innovation. Far ahead, miles ahead than any other company. First time taking over Beats 1 year back. Just to hire Dr. Bra, who is known as the most musical ears in the whole world. And now they are going for streaming and all that stuff. First time Apple has broken its philosophy of Steve Jobs, of innovating and M&A. Now in this type of culture, there's a case going on now. 3 months back, I read it, and the employees have gone against the Apple's management and Dr. Bra. So the philosophy, how you are changing, is becoming so relevant because of the industry changing its shape. Another interesting case because of which Google has changed its strategy in Europe. There was a gentleman 15 years back, he had taken some loan, did not repay, etc., etc. He lost a case and it was there in the Google against his name. And 2.5 years back in Europe, he wanted to take some advances against a bank. The bank, researched and found in Google that this is what had happened, and he did not, the bank refused to give them any money. He went to the court. And the court decision is a landmark decision. He said, everyone has a right to be forgotten. Because of which now Google in Europe, whole of Europe, has given mails to people, if you want anything of yours which is in Google and you want to withdraw it, give us, we'll withdraw it. Now the controversy is going, why not outside Europe? It's a huge expensive thing. But they are taking a stand, it was a European bench, so we are going to Europe. So the right to be forgotten. I have done a mistake. In our application form, 30 years back, 15 years back, is any criminal case against you? Shall we stick to it? This is a landmark judgment. And it is the starting of that landmark judgment that everyone can change and it has a right to be forgotten. Another landmark judgment. 64,000, we talk about my company will not take your company people, this company will not take that company. 64,000 technical people went against Adobe, Intel, Microsoft and Apple. Steve Jobs started it. And they sued all the 4 companies because they had a pact, they will not employ each other's employees. And this started with Sheryl Sandberg, the famous Sheryl Sandberg, shifting to Facebook and taking a lot of people who had visited India last year. And court said, you'll all have to go to jail, otherwise you settle it among yourself. It's illegal. And these people and the companies have settled and agreed to pay $900 million to these 64,000 employees as a compensation. Landmark judgment. In India, we still talk about it. We feel very proud that I can take, Wipro can take, TCS people, TCS can. It's all clear. They have the right to be doing it. Now, 2-3 more points. Some skills, which we are talking about is Skill India. But why most of the R&D, key R&D companies with high tech is not coming to India? Number one, skills are not available. When we started flat panel, we did not have engineers in India for R&D. So we had to send Indian engineers for two years to Korea to get them knowledgeable. Second thing is NASA. NASA has about 19,000 such positions, which are high-tech positions, which they give only to Americans whose great-great-great-grandfathers were also Americans, no one else. Because they are very afraid of that technology might go away to any country, any other country. So those whose great-great-grandfathers were Americans, they are getting those jobs. 25%, and these are 18 hours jobs, core technology jobs. 25% vacancies are not being filled. Another 5 years, another 30% people are going to retire, and no such Americans are applying for that. NASA, big problem. How do you get such people? India, campus, highest recruitment in sales. US, sales jobs are shrinking. With online companies, another 8 to 9 years, sales jobs will be shrinking because it adds to 4 to 7% overhead cost to any company. If you can sell it online, 4 to 7% profitability gets added to you. That is what is happening in IBM, Microsoft, and so many other companies. And the last, I have 2-3 minutes more, global managers. How do you create global managers? Forget about all the things. I teach in one of the premium institutes outside India about global managers. There are 4 things only which we have to focus. Number 1, only those people can be successful global managers. If you are in any other country, can you learn to talk in their language and enjoy that language? Can you learn to eat their food and enjoy their food? Can you learn to accept their habits and enjoy the habits? And last, when you have children, can you allow them to have a different value system? Most of 90% of the Indians come because of these 4 reasons. And these are the most important attributes for Indian to be a global manager. I'm not naming anyone because I know a couple of top notches who returned because of one of the reasons. So the last point is, what are the problems? The problem of the management is the stakeholders' demand and how much they can invest in HR. And 3 things. The biggest problem of the management is the customer wants everything free of cost and the employee wants everything as the highest salary. How do you balance? And the latest practice which has happened in Japan, they have come out with a shame index 50. That is to say, any company which is not giving returns to its shareholders less than 15% comes in that shame company. So the demand of the shareholders. And they are listed publicly, they are taken out of with whatever you call it, the share index box or whatever it is. And listed everywhere. On their website, it is written very boldly, shame company. How do you manage? Are the challenges, and HR has to play a very important role, but in an absolutely different way, with a different mindset, because business is no more business, it's a war game. Thank you.
Next among us is our chief guest, Mr. Vipin Sodhi, MD and CEO, JCB India Limited. He is holding bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the IIT Delhi and postgraduate management degree from the IIM Ahmedabad. He was awarded India's Best Young Manager in 2000 by the CII. He has over 3 decades of experience in manufacturing and engineering-based companies, Honda, Tata Steel, and Tecumseh. He joined JCB in January 2006 as Managing Director and CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Vipin Sodhi.
Mrs. Veena Swarup, Dr. Yasho Verma, always difficult to speak after Dr. Verma, Dr. Ekta Saxena, professionals from the HR fraternity, and I understand almost all of you here are professionals from the HR fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good morning to all of you. I feel privileged to be amongst all of you this morning at the 7th Mega HR Conclave, building capabilities for future HR challenges. And thank you also to the DMA and the IBA for inviting me here. Now, with the finest minds in HR present here, I really didn't know how I could possibly enlighten you, because I'm not an HR professional. I don't have that background. And for us at JCB, people and products are our passion. So while I'm certain that you will be discussing specific HR tools and techniques during the day for building capability for future challenges. In what is described as a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, I'm taking the liberty of sharing some personal experiences of very simple people with some thoughts at the end. And they've become the guide for me on matters relating to building HR capabilities. And I hope that these people, very simple, will have a place in your deliberations. So except for one, there are no big names that I will be taking. My first experience is excellence in adversity. It was about a decade and a half ago, that the multinational company that I worked with in India made an acquisition of another multinational company manufacturing compressors. And for some reason, no due diligence was done. The deal was signed in America, all on the basis that two people knew each other. And I was given charge of the business in India. And when we visited the newly acquired factory site, we were shell-shocked. It was a small team, and the state of the shop floor, many of you 10, 15 years ago, I don't think many of you look so young that 15 years ago you're probably in school. But there were 1,500 employees in that company. Material was strewn all over, so you had to walk over the material. Indiscipline was probably the only order that there was, and nobody seemed to have a job to do over there. But since as a team, we were given the job to do, the baby was in our lap, we thought we'd roll up our sleeves and do something about it. And over the next few days, we were fortunate to find one small operating line of 8 to 10 people whose workplace was neat and tidy, output was without defects, and they were oblivious of the chaos around them. This is with 1,500 people roaming around freely. Still further observation helped us notice that one member of that 8 to 10 member team, Ashok, and I remember his name because I spent a lot of time with him, he hummed as he worked and almost always had a smile on his face. He was enjoying his work, and his specific workstation was the neatest, it was the tidiest, everything was in its place, and there was a place for everything. We had understood why. Ashok was blind. Everything had to be in its place, otherwise he wouldn't be able to find his tools. And over the weeks and months that followed, I spent a lot of time, as I'd mentioned. Ashok at a very young age had decided to enjoy what he did consciously and do his work diligently. He opened our eyes, as those of many others, that those blessed with natural eyesight took vision for granted. His attitude, of course, was inspirational. And Ashok's line, we decided, would become an island of excellence. As the story spread, along with training and therefore HR intervention and other tools, we were able to take this factory to being world-class in quality, cost, productivity, and scale. It began exporting to the most competitive markets in the world, and each of the 1,500 employees played a role in the transformation that took place. So 3 thoughts on this example. 1, Ashok and many others like him have shown us that excellence can exist even in adversity, including when one is differently abled. Thought number 2, does one have to be blessed with natural eyesight to have a vision? And thought number 3, should we, as HR professionals, leaders, first create islands of excellence and expand the sphere of excellence to the rest of the organization, or should we try and influence an organization at one go? And of course, this will depend on the size, scale, and the situation, but we've got to take that call. On to my second experience, and this is about leadership. When I was a management trainee many years ago in one of India's most respected steel companies, and it was led by one of India's most iconic CEOs at that point, a portly Parsi gentleman by the name of Rusi Modi, who was famous for cooking and eating 16-egg omelets, so he was quite a character. As you know, steel companies have coal mines, and coal mines are extremely hazardous, especially if they are underground. And one day, an unfortunate incident took place in one of the mines where several hundred workers got trapped inside. And obviously, thousands of workers overground were agitated, And while rescue operations had started, the police, or the politicians first, took advantage of the situation. It is Bihar. But matters went out of control. The police then cordoned off the area, but the tension was enormous and rescue operations obviously were getting affected. When Mr. Modi heard of the incident, his natural instinct was to fly immediately to the mines, about a 30-minute flight from the headquarters. The local police chief and the local politicians requested him not to come, fearing violence. But he had none of it, and he asked me, I was his executive assistant, he said, "Young man," I was then a young man, "this could be the biggest learning of your life and will stand you in good stead. Will you come?" As if I had an option, so I went along. We landed at the airstrip near the mines late in the evening, and the airstrip was lit by 30 to 40 ambassador cars, and you don't see these cars anymore. We drove past the police cordon and straight into the crowd. En route in the flight, Mr. Modi explained to me as to why he was doing what he was. It was his colleagues who were trapped inside. It was his colleagues who were agitating. What right did he have to sit in his office and wait till things passed over? We were told a certain portion of the anger had already subsided when the crowd heard that Mr. Modi was coming despite police advice and the fact that he was risking landing when it was in darkness, along with the pilot and my life as well, to land in semi-darkness. But when we went straight into the crowd, it made way. He asked for a charpai and he sat down in the middle of the crowd, called the union office bearers and asked them to sit beside him. And gradually, the entire crowd became calm, peaceful, and he spoke to them in a very soothing tone. We spent 3 days at the mines till the rescue operations were completed, and fortunately, all the trapped workers were safe. Mr. Modi met all the families one by one and ensured that the best medical treatment was provided. But he apologized profusely for the incident. And as a youngster, far from wondering whether I'd ever return home, it was seeing one of our greatest corporate leaders in action firsthand, which was my biggest learning. So thought number 4, should a leader shy away from his own people, especially during times of strife? And obviously the answer to that is a big no. On to my third experience, and this is about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship comes naturally to us Indians, also partly because the Indian state forces us to become entrepreneurial. We are forced to innovate and improvise to overcome basic constraints and to succeed with what we have. And that's why a lot of Indians have succeeded overseas. I work with a firm which manufactures construction equipment, and worldwide and also in India, construction equipment is sold to large contractors. We have a completely different model in India. We sell to small individuals, ordinary folk. Our machines are bought by people from all walks of life, and only 10% of the cost needs to be paid, committed by a person buying for the first time, and 90% is funded by banks. So let me take the example of Sibban Singh from Palwal. Palwal is just 50 kilometers from here, who bought his first machine about 20 years ago. And Sibban Singh hired a Chotu. Chotu's name is Billu, who could clean the machine, get tea from a nearby dhaba, check the oil, etc. While Sibban Singh operated the machine on small digging jobs given to him by the local contractor in the village. He was paid on an hourly basis, which was adequate for him to support his family and also repay his EMI installments. In 3 years, Sibban Singh was able to repay his entire loan, and he bought a second machine. He now needed 4 operators and 4 Chotus, as there was enough work in the village for a 2-shift operation. Billu, the original Chotu, was promoted as an operator because by this time he'd learned how to operate a machine. And Sibban Singh dedicated his time going to neighboring villages to find work for the 2 machines that he had bought. So he became a proprietor, come a salesman. Over the next few years, or several years, Billu desired to become like Sibban Singh was, when Sibban Singh had started. And about 10 years ago, Billu put a 10% down payment for his first machine. Today, Sibban Singh and his family, his uncles, tayas, chotus, nephews, all of them, they own about 50 machines, each worth about 20 lakhs. And Billu owns 4 machines, each with its own battery of operators and chotus. And when you meet Billu, there is a twinkle in his eyes when he says, "Ab main panchvi machine ke bare mein soch raha hoon." And this is heartwarming, to say the least. Simple folk, naturally entrepreneurial and truly aspirational. Company has sold about 200,000 machines, so there must be hundreds and thousands of Sibban Singhs and Billus. So thought number 5, how shall we move from a nation of job seekers to a nation of job creators? Even if it is creating 5 or 6 jobs, we've got to move from job seekers, that is traditional, to job creators, and many of you will probably do that. My 4th experience is a story of courage, determination, and creating a new and alternative path. It is related to recruiting and training young women between the ages of 18 to 22 from remote villages in Rajasthan to become world-class welders in our factories, which is often considered a man's job. Here is the story of Jassu Devi. I have a short video for you.
के एक छोटे से गांव बोरावट से बिलोंग करती हूँ। ये मेरे लिए नहीं, मेरे परिवार के लिए खुशी की बात है कि मुझे जैसी वर्ल्ड क्लास फैमिली के साथ अपना करियर शुरू करने का मौका मिला। मैं मेरे गांव में फर्स्ट लड़की हूँ जिसने अपनी एजुकेशन भी घर से दूर रह के कम्प्लीट की और अब मैं जैसे भी कंपनी में काम कर रही हूँ। मेरे एजुकेशन की स्टार्टिंग मेरे छोटे से गांव में इस स्कूल से हुई है। ये पहले 5th क्लास तक की थी, लेकिन आज 8th क्लास तक बन गई है स्कूल। जब मैं यहाँ पढ़ती थी तो तब मैं बहुत छोटी थी। शायद मैं यहाँ से 4 किलोमीटर आगे पढ़ने के लिए मुझे 4 किलोमीटर दूर जाना पड़ता।
She was a girl from a remote village and the only girl to step out of a village for work of this sort in fabrication industry, and see her perform is really fabulous. She's earned the nickname not only from us but from the people in UK as a lady robot.
पहली फटी बोरावट और भी बाद में फटी जोधपुर तो बढ़िया फटी, पर जो कंपनी का मैं नौकरी लगी बहुत बढ़िया बढ़िया लगी।
जैसे भी कंपनी में ना नौकरी लगी ना, जब ये जगह खुशी हुई जसो की नौकरी लगी ना।
जसो गांव की स्कूल का मायने पढ़ती, बच्चे वह सब लड़के साथ जाते पैदल। फिर बच्चा 3 साल बाद वहाँ बेटा ना जोधपुर 3 साल पढ़ाई की, बहुत बढ़िया करी बेटी पढ़ाई।
जैसे भी कंपनी में मेरी दीदी का जब सिलेक्शन हुआ तो हमें और हमारे घर वालों को बहुत अच्छा लगा, और इसे देखकर गांव की और भी लड़कियां पढ़ना चाहती है और आगे बढ़ना चाहती है।
मेरे मम्मी पापा अनपढ़ होते हुए भी मुझे बहुत सपोर्ट किया, जिसके कारण मैं आज इस मुकाम पे पहुंच गई।
There are many other girls like this and many other examples, and this is what another young girl, another young woman had to say. Her name is Ruksina Bibi, and she's quite fond of saying that the training center is like her wings. It has allowed her to escape many bonds and fly into a clean and free space. It has allowed her to look at her life from a distance and acknowledge things in it which are good and not so good. But most of all, it has allowed her to rise above the narrow and orthodox perspectives of her community, which used to hold her back. And specifically to quote her, of course, people still talk and try to pull us back when she says, but now I have wings and I can fly away. I can no longer hear what they say, unquote. So thought number 6, how can we who are privileged to receive higher formal education, such as all of us present here, create opportunities for those less privileged and give them wings so that they can fly? This is especially so for our women folk. Thought number 7, our young women like Jassu Devi and Ruksina Bibi bringing about a change not only in our workplace, but also serving as an inspiration for other young women in their villages, thereby starting a virtuous social transformation. And from what I've observed, the answer is an emphatic yes. My final experience, in making all of us today, there are many, many people who've played a role. Many of these people are visible, but most are not visible. It is those who are not visible that we must look for and ensure that we pay our gratitude to. We've made a film recently recognizing the man who serves us our daily tea, the security guard who stands in the heat and dust and protects the institution, the Mali who tends to our garden, the cook who makes food in our canteen. Each one of them shapes us, but too often we take them for granted. But as each one of them came onto camera and spoke without a prepared text, their face lit up and words just seemed to flow from what their experience was. And when they saw themselves on screen, most had tears in their eyes. Their contribution, however insignificant it may seem, is critical to our daily well-being. How many of us know the names of our cook, our Mali, not at home, but in our workplace? Thought number 8. Isn't each role in its context, however small or big, the most critical in that context? And I believe that an organization can strive for excellence only if it recognizes and provides dignity to each individual, however unskilled his or her role may be. So as I wrap up my address, I cannot help but admire people like Ashok, Rusi Modi, Jasso Devi, Ruxina Bibi, Sibin Singh, Billu, and those unnamed and unspoken who have shaken us up each time we have encountered them. They've helped push the bar higher just when one thought it could go no further. Thus boundaries have been broken just when we believed that they were unbreakable. And many of them are simple young people. Too often, perhaps, we don't give these people the importance that they deserve. And I do believe that we must ensure that they become the process of transformation that our great country is undergoing and will undergo in the next few decades. You're aware that by 2020, India is set to become the world's youngest country. And yet this dividend could be deeply undermined by the many inequalities of class, caste, gender, and location. And I cannot stress enough the need for HR professionals such as yourselves to ensure that capabilities are built to create millions of professionals in diverse walks of life for a just, humane, and equitable society. I do hope the deliberations for the rest of the day will include these aspects as well, apart from the high flyers that we have in our organization. And I'm just summarizing 6 of them. 1, excellence in adversity. 2, creating islands of excellence. 3, leadership with humility. Dr. Verma spoke about it, but especially in times of crises. 4, creating and encouraging entrepreneurs, that is moving from a nation of job seekers to job providers. 5, and very importantly, ensuring that women get equal opportunity and we help them escape the many bonds that limit them from achieving their potential. And 6, recognizing the unnamed and the unspoken, the Mali, the security guard, the cook, the sanitation worker, and providing them with the dignity that they deserve. Once again, I'd like to thank the Delhi Management Association and the Indus Business Academy for inviting me to be amongst all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Can we have few questions from the audience?